Everyone keeps asking the same question right now. Is Altseason finally here, or are we being faked out again? In today's video I'm going to be breaking down some key charts I have been watching closely. By the end of this video you will see why I think we might be in a mini altcoin season right now, but not the explosive one everyone has been waiting for. I will also cover what that means for Bitcoin, Ethereum and other larger altcoins as we move into Q4. So let's get into it. So I want to start off by looking at the total free against Bitcoin chart. For anyone who isn't familiar, total free is basically the entire market without Bitcoin and Ethereum. So it's a way of measuring the altcoin's performance on its own. When you divide that with Bitcoin, you get a sense of whether the altcoins are gaining strength against Bitcoin or losing it. Now this is a chart that Benjamin Cohen has covered a few times, and historically if you look back at previous cycles, a real alt season only kicks in after this chart sweeps down to the 0.25 level. That's happened before every major alt rally. We are sitting around 0.41, so for us to get back down to 0.25, altcoins will need to drop quite a bit compared to Bitcoin. And here's where the timing gets interesting. We have just stepped into Q4, which has been hyped up a lot for this alt season. People are expecting fireworks, but if you zoom into this chart, there's actually a wedge pattern that's been forming for nearly 2 years now. It's been incredibly consistent. Every bounce has happened off the bottom of the wedge and every rejection has come at the top. We recently got a solid bounce from the lows, but that doesn't necessarily mean alt season is here. What if instead during Q4 we just continue moving inside this wedge, rally up to the resistance and then bleed back down again? And only after that move we eventually sweep 0.25 and kick off the real alt season. That's the theory I'm leading towards right now, which means yes, we are in a rally for altcoins, but it's more of a mini alt season instead of these huge alt season we have seen previous cycles. Let's bring in another tool, the Altseason index. If you have never seen this before, it's basically a score from 0 to 100 that shows if alts are outperforming Bitcoin. Anything above 75 is considered a alt season. Recently this index shot up into the range and peaked around 80 before cooling off. Now this does make sense if you have been watching altcoins that have been performing really well recently, but now the index is dropping again, which could look scary. Here's another perspective though. What if this pullback is just a cool down before a push even higher? That would line up perfectly with what we are seeing on the total free divided by Bitcoin chart. Cooling off before another rally. The only thing to keep in mind is the history. Every time this index has hit those high levels in the past, it's followed by a sharp decline back to the bottom. So if that repeats, the big correction could start right when we reach the top of the wedge pattern again. Now to further test this theory, let's zoom into the total market cap excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum. So again, this chart also represents only the alt market. If you plot this chart, you'll see we have been trending inside a nice parallel channel, and recently we have just gotten a golden cross. For those who might not know, it's basically when the 50 SMA moves above the 200 SMA. It's usually seen as a bullish signal, kind of like the market telling us momentum is shifting up. What's interesting is that in this channel, golden crosses have tended to happen near the bottom of the range. Each time this has led to a short-term rally, but, and this is important, those rally hasn't lasted really long. They have been temporary rallies before the market have cooled off again. So with that in mind, I think we could be in for a rally here in Q4 before we cool off again. So with that in mind, I think we could be in for one of those short-term rallies here in Q4. But looking further out, I wouldn't be surprised if the bigger picture sets up for a bear market in 2026. Now let's zoom out for some cycle context. We are in Q4 of a post-halving year. If you look back, these months in Q4 is where Bitcoin has some of the strongest gains. So I am expecting another rally for Bitcoin before we go into the bear market. And when Bitcoin rallies, altcoins tends to follow what Bitcoin does. That's another reason why I think we are technically in an alt season right now, but I don't think it's gonna be those 10x, 50x everywhere like people are expecting, and that's where expectations matter. I think a lot of people are going to get wrecked trying to chase these 10x, but that doesn't mean that alts are gonna do bad. In fact, I think that altcoins are actually gonna do really well, especially with the expected ETFs that are gonna come in October. Now let's talk about these ETFs, because that could add a lot of fuel to the fire. There are a lot of deadlines in October, with the most important one being Solana ETF decision on October 10th, in my opinion. Right now that has around a 95% chance of approval, which is huge. And Solana isn't the only one. XRP, Dogecoin, Cardano, all of them are being considered for ETFs with high chances of approval here in October. If these go through during the most bullish phase of the Bitcoin cycle, that's just more fuel for altcoins. Now, I also want to talk a little bit about Ethereum, because if Ethereum starts to outperform Bitcoin, the entire alt market usually rallies with it. Historically, when Ethereum breaks its all-time high, altcoins rallies against their ETH pairs. Right now, Ethereum has been in a correction after hitting new all-time highs, but it's still sitting above the bull market support band. If you're new, the bull market support band is just a fancy name for the 20-week moving average combined with the 21-week EMA. It's a zone that often acts as a springboard during bull markets. If we go back to post-halving years, Ethereum often tested this support band around this time of the year before rallying into new all-time highs. And I think the same thing might be happening right now. Once Ethereum starts to rally again, I think it's going to drag up the entire alt market with it. Before wrapping this up, I want to share an interesting comparison I saw: copper versus gold. In the traditional economy, gold tends to outperform when times are uncertain, but when the economy booms, copper absolutely takes off. The copper to gold ratio shoots up quickly, then eventually gold takes back over. And honestly, that's really similar to how Bitcoin and the alt markets behave. Bitcoin is like gold, it's the more safe bet. Altcoins like copper, more explosive but also way more volatile. If we look at the copper to gold chart right now, the RSI is oversold, which is generally a bullish sign. Depending on how you draw the trend line, we're either about 20% away from a breakout or testing it right now. If this plays out, it could mean alts are gearing up for another strong rally. But again, this was just a comparison that I saw that I thought was a little bit interesting to share with you guys. But yeah, that is pretty much it for this video. To sum everything up, I'm very bullish on the market, especially moving into Q4. I think Bitcoin is gonna rally first, and then Ethereum and the rest of the alt market is gonna follow. But I also don't think this is an alt season like a lot of people are expecting. For that to happen, I think we'll need to see the total free divided with Bitcoin chart sweep it slow at 0.25, which by the looks of it is not gonna happen this year. So in my view, we are in a mini alt season right now. We are likely not gonna see the crazy rallies like we have seen in other cycles. There is a lot of opportunities, but also a lot of risk, especially for those people who are going to be chasing these 10x altcoins everywhere. But let me know in the comments what you guys think about all this. Do you think this is just a mini alt season, or are we going to see a real alt season like we have seen in previous years? But if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe. That would help me a lot, and I'll see you in the next one.